The enjoyment of sports comes from how we challenge ourselves to achieve high. To be a successful soccer player, you will need to be competent in 4 criteria: technical, tactical, physical, and psychological. Some people may even say that the psychological ones are the most important ones. For example, if you're the best player right now on your team, but you're not confident to learn new skills, your long-term success can be very limited. Global Premier Soccer has a technical department that focus on educating our club members on these 4 criteria. Today, we're going to speak to Jeff, our Global Premier Soccer sports psychology consultant, and we're going to talk about what sports psychology can offer to us. Hello, Jeff. Well, thank you for taking time out to speak to us. I know that you're a very experienced social worker in the field of sports psychology. Can you tell us a little bit more about your professional background?
Of course, I am a clinical social worker. I have a master's degree in social work from Columbia University. I also have a master's degree in public health from the same institution, and I am a certified sports psychological consultant.
And I know that you've been involved with our club GPS for many years, and also in different kind of roles as a parent and as a sports psychology consultant as well. Can you tell us more about how you apply your professional skills in these roles?
My first involvement occurred probably about a dozen years ago when Joe Bradley was doing a workshop for the Newton soccer program. I was one of the coaches. Joe and I started talking afterwards, and we realized that while he could offer tremendous technical, tactical, physical training to the youth program, he was missing a component, and that was the sports psychology piece. So I had offered to work with Joe, and I said, well, let's work together. We can bring this to both the GPS and the MPS programs, and we can enhance the quality of the programs. In addition, though, we started working together with some of the other athletes from the Boston Bulldogs and the Boston Renegades, and we actually had some success with them.
Mm-hmm. And any interesting story that you could share with us throughout that time?
There was actually a lot of interesting stories, some that I will not say on camera. But one of the more interesting stories is when Coach Nicholl, Steve Nicholl of Liverpool fame, had asked me to see one of his players. The player wasn't performing well. He was an English Premier League player at one point. I met with him for several times. I then spoke to Coach Nicholl, and I suggested that if they started him, his performance would improve. The coach would have nothing to do with that recommendation. He thought it was not a good idea because this player was violating curfew and not showing up to practice on time and so on. I taught the players some strategies to improve his performance, and at one point, a week later, they decided they were going to start him. They invited me to the game, and as luck would have it, this player who they didn't want to start scored 3 goals in the first half, and they won 3-0. Needless to say, we were all kind of surprised. A lot of people said to me, gee, Jeff, we should have listened to you. Coach Nicholl apologized to me for not listening. I said, don't apologize. Because in the world of sports psychology, it's not an exact science. It's a fluid experience. Some days you have your game, some days you don't. Our goal is to try to teach our players to have as much of their game going as possible every time they go out on the pitch.
Wow, so that's quite an amazing story, how a player go from 0 to hero. And also, like you said, in sports, I guess particularly in soccer as well, there's so many factors that players couldn't control. So I think one of the things that sports psychology can offer to players is not, they try and control everything, but how to react to things they can't control, how to manage themselves to do their best and adjust. Would you agree with that, Jeff?
Yes, absolutely. One of the things about life is that there are very few things we do have control over. But I always tell athletes, one of the things you have control over is your thoughts. So if you have negative thoughts that are coming in, and you speak to a player and they say, I can't help it, I just have these negative thoughts, I always tell them, actually you can help yourself. You could do a technique such as thought stopping, where you repeat the word over in your head, stop, stop, stop. That acts as what we would call a cognitive distraction. That gets rid of the negative thought, and you actually can control your thought and replace it with something else, and that actually evokes a positive feeling.
So in GPS, we're looking at applying sports psychology techniques into 4 areas to help out our club members. Those 4 areas, they are personality development, youth management, self-coaching, and team cohesion. Jeff, could you tell us more about all these areas and how important they are in, like you said, achieving success in soccer?
Those are wonderful strategies to enhance, athletes' ability in terms of a psychological perspective. So when we think about personality development, one of the things we're really talking about is creating mental toughness, creating both athletes and young people who are going to be mentally tough. They're going to deal with disappointment, they're going to deal with playing hard, they're going to deal with discipline, they're going to deal with having, developing both fun and success at the same time. When we look at youth management, it's really about how people become responsible young people. They have to, learn about the ups and downs of life. Youth management, being a teenager in contemporary living is a difficult thing. It's inherently a difficult time. There's a lot of crises for young people. Youth management is really about how to work through these issues and how to talk about how you feel and how to work with each other. So, helping these young folks develop some strategies is a very useful, approach. We also, when we look at the whole concept of self-coaching, that's a great quality, because if you can learn that skill, you can do it in every aspect of your life. Self-coaching is basically the ability to talk to oneself and remind oneself of what's really important. But it has to be done in a particular way. You don't call yourself a bad name and tell yourself to, mark the defender better. What you do is you say positive things to yourself and you remind yourself of how to improve your performance. So the people who can do that will always play better, and it can be done at times other than playing in the game. You could do it the day before. Lastly, we look at team cohesion. Teams that are more cohesive always perform better. You could have fantastic talent, but if there's not team cohesion, you're not going to win. You can have moderate talent, but if you have great cohesiveness, you will always play better, and there are teams that have won championships because of that quality of the cohesive element of the team.
Okay, Jeff, so now let's just take a look at some sports psychology techniques that we could use with our young players when we coach, etc. So I know the 4 main ones are arousal regulation, goal setting, imagery, and self-talk. Can you just give us a brief introduction of all these techniques and how effective they are to our performance?
Yes, those are the cornerstones of psychological consulting to sports teams. So arousal regulation, that's when an external or internal stimuli is creating arousal in the athlete. Athletes who have higher arousal generally do not perform well. What we want athletes to do is to have peak interest, to be really motivated for the game, but be able to moderate their arousal level so they can play in a more effective way. So we would teach athletes how to reduce elevated arousal by breathing techniques, by stress management techniques, relaxation techniques, so that they can still be up for the game, but have a moderate arousal level to enhance performance. When we think about the basic tenets of sports psychology, one of the most important things is goal setting. We will work with athletes and help them identify goals that they can set both for practice, the game, and the season. There's a famous Hindu proverb, which is, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is one bite at a time. What we do with goal setting is we help the athletes develop their goals one game at a time. We look at aspects of how they perform and what they want to do. Winning the championship is a lovely goal, but it's not realistic when we talk about effective goal management. We also talk about imagery. Imagery is one of the techniques that most people have heard of, but they're not quite sure what that is. It's helping the mind's eye create an image, a mental picture in their brain, where when they are out on the pitch, when they're out on the field playing, they can imagine what they want to see themselves doing. So it's very effective for corner kicks, PKs, defending, slide tackles, and believing that you can implement these techniques. People who do mental imagery in athletics always perform better. Lastly, we talk about self-talk. Self-talk, as we discussed earlier, is a strategy where you actually are coaching yourself throughout the game. One of the great things about self-talk is that you can use it as a game preparation strategy to get yourself ready for the game. I always tell people when they have a game, the time they start doing psychological preparation is a day or two before. When they get to the pitch, that's when they do the physical preparation. That's when they stretch and warm up and loosen up. The psychological prep occurs 24 to 48 hours before kickoff.
Excellent. So now looking into the future, we are planning to run a lot of programs on educating our club members, like you said, players, parents, coaches, and town club partners. There are two programs that we're looking to start very soon. The consultant surveys and also an educational series of seminars. Jeff, could you let us know more about how these programs will run and how they will benefit our club members?
Yes, I think that's those are two exciting things that we're implementing here. So one part, as you mentioned, Ling, is the sports psychological consulting service. We will have a phone number made available to every member of GPS and NPS where they can call in and they can either get someone or they can leave a message that they want a consultation around their athlete's performance. That if their son or daughter had a bad day or is just in the dumps or feeling upset, they could talk to us and we will be happy to help them sort of develop some techniques and strategies to enhance their performance. We also can then expand upon that where they can come in for a one-on-one consultation and we would provide additional services. The program in terms of having seminars is really a way to create a larger audience because it's difficult sometimes to have 2,000 people showing up for appointments, but we can actually reach a larger number in a more efficient period of time where we can do workshops at convenient locations where the teams can get together and we'll do things on such subjects as stress management, relaxation techniques, learning how to be effective time managers, how to have enhanced communication, achieving balance in school and family. And we would provide these to all our GPS members and they can learn to improve their performance and they would have further success. So we want to be able to provide a real cornerstone of the GPS program by offering psychological services. We know that successful athletes have four things going for them: physical fitness, tactical skill, technical skill, and psychological skill. Our goal is to have the best psychological sport-oriented program available to the GPS team.
Wow. So very, very exciting things. Well, thanks again, Jeff, for taking time out to speak to us. I'm sure we'll see you regularly when we're running these programs.
Thank you very much.
Sports psychology is about doing the little things right to achieve the big dream. To maximize our performance, we will need to apply the four techniques, which are arousal regulations, goal setting, imagery, and self-talk on a daily basis. Jeff is a successful and experienced professional in the field of sports psychology, and we are grateful to have him as our consultant. GPS has a mission of developing players as athletes and people, and that can only be achieved when we intentionally educate them on the mind skills they need.